There is a codex in the lower vault of the Valdric Archival Hall, sealed in a brass-hinged case, catalogued under reference number V-1109, that has not been formally opened since the year of its acquisition. The acquisition date stamped on the outer case reads Year 1 of the Restored Order. Inside, according to the intake record filed by the receiving archivist, is a liturgical calendar predating the restoration by what he described as a considerable but unverifiable margin. He did not estimate the margin, he did not open the case, he simply logged it, assigned it a number, and placed it on the shelf, where it has remained for longer than anyone currently employed in that building has been alive. I found the reference while looking for something else entirely. I was tracing the administrative correspondence of the Valdric Communion during the late consolidation period, trying to understand how regional scriptoriums were reorganized after the Directorate of Sacred Chronology issued its year alignment decree in what the official calendar designates as Year 4 of the Restored Order. The decree is a short document, 11 paragraphs. It establishes the new calendar, designates Year 1 as the beginning of recorded ecclesiastical time, and instructs all affiliated institutions to align their internal records accordingly. What it does not explain is what came before Year 1. The official position of the Communion, documented in catechetical texts issued across 6 generations, is that the Restored Order began from a period of institutional silence, a span during which no reliable records were maintained, no formal hierarchy functioned, and therefore no canonical chronology could be established. The silence is presented as a gap, not an erasure, a natural consequence of institutional collapse rather than a deliberate act. The Directorate's year alignment decree simply acknowledged that gap and established a new starting point from which accurate records could be kept. That is the official account, and it is, in isolation, reasonable. But here is the detail that first made me pause. The Valdric Communion maintains a registry of all scriptoriums operating under its authority from the earliest period of documentation. Of the 47 scriptoriums listed as active at the time of the year alignment decree, 31 have surviving manuscripts with dates predating Year 1 of the Restored Order. These manuscripts are not hidden. They are catalogued. Several are referenced in academic surveys of early communal literature. They exist in the same archives that maintain the official position that no reliable records survive from before the Restoration. Individually, each of these seems like a clerical inconsistency. Archival systems are imperfect. Dates get miscopied. Old manuscripts get misdated together. They form something harder to set aside quietly. The manuscripts that predate Year 1 share a peculiarity. Their internal dating systems do not align with the communal calendar in use at the time of their creation. They use a different counting system entirely, one that scholars of early Valdric institutional history refer to informally as the Elder Reckoning. The Elder Reckoning counts from a fixed astronomical event, specifically the first observed transit of what early texts call the Pale Crossing, a celestial phenomenon recorded in at least 9 independent documents across the pre-Restoration period. Under the Elder Reckoning, the documents that predate Year 1 of the Restored Order are dated to a span covering approximately 200 years before the decree was issued. 200 years that, according to the official calendar, do not have a name. The Directorate of Sacred Chronology was established in Year 2 of the Restored Order, 1 year before the year alignment decree it would eventually issue. Its founding mandate describes its purpose as the maintenance of accurate and unified temporal records in service of doctrinal coherence. And this is where the pattern becomes difficult to explain away. In Year 6 of the Restored Order, the Directorate issued a secondary circular to all affiliated scriptoriums. The circular instructed each institution to conduct an internal review of its manuscript holdings and to forward to the Directorate any documents whose dating or provenance could not be verified against the canonical record. The circular specified that such documents were not to be destroyed, but rather transferred to central holding for archival preservation and scholarly assessment. I searched the Directorate's transfer records. Between year 6 and year 11, 41 scriptoriums submitted documents in response to the circular. The intake logs record them under a collective heading: Pre-Canonical Holdings, pending review. The review status column is blank for every entry, not marked as reviewed, not marked as pending, simply blank. One handwritten annotation appears in the margin beside the submission from the Muret Scriptorium, one of the oldest institutions in the Communion, its founding date acknowledged by the registry itself as predating year 1 by approximately 2 centuries. The annotation, in an unidentified hand, reads, "These predate the decree. Unclear how to classify." It is dated year 8. There is no follow-up notation. Approximately 2 centuries. The same margin as the sealed codex. The same margin the year alignment decree quietly declined to name. Now here is where the testimony becomes interesting. Among the papers donated to the Archival Hall by various Communion administrators over the generations, there is a collection of personal journals kept by an archivist named Tessaly Vorn, who worked in the hall from year 44 to year 79 of the restored order. Vorn was not a senior official. She was a cataloging clerk who spent 35 years processing, organizing, and maintaining the hall's lower vault holdings. Her journals were donated by her family after her death and are publicly accessible, though rarely cited in formal scholarship. Vorn wrote about her work with the precision of someone who had spent decades noticing things that official records did not acknowledge. In an entry dated year 67, she described opening a misdirected delivery crate and finding inside a collection of loose manuscript folios that matched no catalog entry. She described them as written in an older hand than I have encountered in the Pre-Canonical Holdings, and as records of governance, not liturgy, lists of names, decisions, transactions. She spent 3 days attempting to match them to any existing entry before reporting them to her supervisor. Her journal records the outcome in a single line. Supervisor took the folios, said they would be sent for assessment. I was told not to log them formally, as I had not yet confirmed their provenance. The folios do not appear in any subsequent catalog entry. Tessaly Vorn does not mention them again. Alone, this might be administrative caution. An uncatalogued document, handled through informal channels while provenance questions are resolved. But Vorn's journal contains 2 other entries, separated by 11 years, describing similar incidents. In year 58, she found a bound register shelved among damaged materials awaiting disposal. It contained what appeared to be population counts organized by a dating system she did not recognize. She brought it to her supervisor. Taken for assessment, never catalogued. In year 71, she found a single folio tucked inside the binding of a liturgical text she was rehousing. Its margins contained numerical notations she described as consistent with the elder reckoning I have seen in the pre-canonical transfers. She kept this one. She pressed it between the pages of her personal journal. She did not report it. The volume covering year 71 is held in the Hall's donated papers collection. The folio is not inside it. No removal note, no catalog entry. Whatever she kept did not survive the donation. 3 discoveries, 30 years, the same building, the same administrative pattern. Each one sits in the record without explanation. And here is perhaps the detail I return to most often. The year alignment decree, in its 11th and final paragraph, includes a sentence that has no corresponding clause in any of the 11 paragraphs preceding it. The sentence reads, "Let it be understood that the years which preceded the restoration are not absent from the memory of the Communion, but are held in trust by those offices designated to preserve what cannot yet be publicly received." What cannot yet be publicly received? The decree was issued in year 4. The phrase implies a future moment when what is being held in trust would be receivable. That moment, if it was ever anticipated, has not been formally announced in any subsequent directorate document across more than a century of institutional records. The phrase appears once in the final paragraph of a founding document and is never referenced again in any official communal text. I searched the Directorate's archive for any document using the phrase publicly received in the context of pre-canonical materials. I found one, an undated internal memorandum filed under a miscellaneous heading with no author listed. It consists of 3 sentences. Certain holdings remain in restricted access pending conditions of institutional readiness. The relevant holdings are catalogued under a reference system, not integrated into the general index. The 3rd sentence says only, no timeline for release has been established. The Archival Hall's general index contains no reference to a parallel catalog, no mention of a secondary reference system, no acknowledgement that certain holdings are indexed under a different structure. What I was able to locate was the sealed codex in the lower vault. Reference number V-1109. The one catalogued on acquisition under the note. A liturgical calendar, predating the restoration by a considerable but unverifiable margin. The one the receiving archivist did not open. The one that has remained sealed since it arrived. The intake record for V-1109 lists the document's origin as transferred from Directorate of Sacred Chronology Holdings during administrative reorganization, year 89. Year 89 of the restored Order 80. 5 years after the year alignment decree, 85 years after the Directorate was founded to maintain unified temporal records. A document from the Directorate's own holdings, transferred out during a reorganization, catalogued once, sealed, and not formally reviewed since. The receiving archivist who logged it retired 2 years after the acquisition. Her retirement file contains no further reference to V-1109. The codex is still there, brass-hinged case. Reference number stamped on the outer seal, catalogued under a margin that was described once by a clerk who chose not to estimate it as considerable. The Valdric Archival Hall is open to researchers 4 days a week. The lower vault requires advance notice and written application. The general index is searchable online. The secondary catalog, if it exists, is not. The sealed codex sits in its case in the lower vault, catalogued, waiting.